how he's gonna tie that, how he's gonna tie that in. But I just want to let you all know that I promise you, stay a little while longer. I promise you, you're gonna definitely get into why we're gonna be talking about this today. Let me tell you who I am. I am David E. Lucas. I am, as you read in the bio, I walked with my job in 2019. Me and my wife, we decided to do that. And my heart is education. So I deal with kids that have learning disabilities, behavior modification plans. I deal with kids that call them misfit. In other words, we call them the exceptional kids. Okay. I deal with those kids. So I began to write a book called Less Than Perfect, More Than Special, Just Enough Exceptional. And I also started a company called Be Exceptional Academy, where we educate teachers, educate parents, educate lawmakers to understand the heart of a child that has a learning disability. And I'm gonna tell you how I came about that journey. David, why the something you want to talk about that? Why would you want to talk about, kids, dealing with this? But we're gonna tie this in being a man, okay? Because a lot of times when we deal with situations and when we're going through things, situations, we never understand the root of the problem. And so we're gonna tie all this in together. And you say, well, David, your target audience is kids. Yeah, that's true. But also my target audience is also young men as well. And most times we as growing as young men, we grow into men and we never understood why we go what we go through. So we want to deal with that on today. Okay. So I want to just have some statistics. I want to deal with this. Nearly 1 in 10 men experience depression. And this is only according to American Men research by the National City Center of Health and Statistics. So I want to deal with this. Nearly 1 in 10 of men experience depression, okay, and definitely anxiety. And so I want to definitely deal with that, okay. Also, we're gonna give some more statistics as well. Men die by suicide at least 3.5 5 more often than women, okay. That's probably interesting, but that's very important to know that. Okay, men died by suicide 3.5 times more often than women. Okay, also about 6 of every 10 men experience at least one trauma in their life. Okay, so that can be a car accident, that can be situations that may happen in your past. But we're talking about 6 of every 10 men experience at least one trauma in their life, and that's very important to know that. Okay. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about 49% of men feeling more depressed than they're meant to people in their own lives. I don't know about anybody else, but sometimes when we're going through situations and problems, we try to keep it to ourselves. And we as men, we have a big, big problem with that. Okay. So 49% of men feel more depressed than they are meant to other people in their lives. Okay. And then men are almost 2 times more likely to be big drinkers than women. So me, I know we may got some drinkers on here, but I just want to deal with that because a lot of times we deal with so much. And most time we'll cope with certain things that usually drinking, that usually eating, that's usually doing whatever all that we love to do, we begin to be and do it. We begin to do it so much. And so I want to deal with that even today as well. Like I said, men are almost 2 times more likely to be and drink more than women. Okay. So I have a question for you, and I want you to definitely put this in the chat. Um, what does the word less than mean to you? Okay. What does the word less than mean to you? Okay. What does the word less than mean to you? Okay. I want you to comment that, put it in the chat. And even if you're on the app, I definitely want you definitely to comment that in as well, because I want to talk about what does that mean to be less than. Okay. The term less than means smaller than a thing or a issue. Okay. The term less than means smaller than, and then, well, I'm math people out there, all people that love math. Okay. The term less than means smaller than or a thing less than a thing or a issue. Okay. So let me talk about this. Let me tell you my little story about why do that deals with being less than perfect, more than special, just of enough of exceptional. Me being, I'm a quintuple. My mama had 5 kids at one time. Okay. I'm only 24 years old. Okay. And my mother had 5 kids at one time. Okay. And it was 3 boys and 2 girls. And most of the time when we were necessarily growing up, I always felt like I was less than. Okay. I always felt like, even though I have my other brothers and sisters, I felt like I was different. I felt like I felt kind of different, about me. I knew that at the end of the day, it was something about me that's not like everybody else, and it began to kind of like make my life feel kind of different. Okay, but my mama had 5 kids at one time, and three of us was boys. Okay, and in the society that we live in today, most of the time, and they say it like this, boys are to necessarily usually go through a learning issue or a learning problem. Okay. And let me give some tips about it before I go into my story. Okay. The one reason might be different on how and girls behave. They say boys tend to draw more negativity in school. Okay. They even said that boys make up 85% of all discipline issues, excuse me, and although showed that 22% of boys been formally formally disciplined versus girls with that 8%. So I'll say it again: 22% of boys are have been formally disciplined versus 8% of girls. Meaning, what were you saying, David? That they're saying that boys are usually the ones that usually get in trouble. Okay, they said that usually boys are the ones that usually act out in school. But in my story, me growing up having 5 kids at one time, me being a quintuplet, it wasn't so much even in school. I just felt as if I just didn't belong in my family. I felt like I was by myself. I felt like because not only that I had an issue, but I had a learning disability. Okay. I couldn't read and write on grade level. I couldn't really do a lot of things. And so a lot of times I felt less than. I felt like at the end of the day that my other brothers and sisters would be able to go to college, my other brothers to be able to do more in life. But me, I had to struggle. I had to really learn who my identity was. And so me being who I am as a five quintuplet, it was very difficult for me, very difficult because the thing about my three brothers, okay, which include me, so that's three, okay, that's three, okay, three of us, all two of all three of us was put in special needs classrooms, and my two sisters wasn't. Okay, I'll say it again: all three of my brothers was put in special needs classrooms and my two sisters wasn't. Okay, and so in the educational system, okay, they didn't test us, they didn't test for IEPs. If you educated any educators in here, they didn't test us, they didn't had our annual IEP meetings around our birthday, they didn't do any of that. But they began to put us in special needs classrooms without testing us. And so what happened was, even if I wasn't on the disabilities track, I was still behind. Okay, I still was put on hold. I still had an issue because they thought, because my two other brothers were special needs, they thought that I was special needs as well. They thought that I was less than. They thought that necessarily that just because the other two boys was going to put in special need classrooms and they couldn't read and write in grade level, then David had to go through that as well. So I don't want to go too much in the story because it's always a madness to the story as well. So I want to just deal with the fact that it was five of us and I felt less than. Okay, I felt like I was by myself. Okay, so I want to just deal with some tips on how can I overcome the feeling of feeling less than. I don't know about anybody else, but sometimes in life we feel that we are less than, especially as men. Sometimes when we're going through what we're going through, sometimes when we're dealing with situations, sometimes even as doing an identity, or sometimes being who we are as a man, we begin to feel that we're less than. We begin to feel that no one begin to understand who we are. No one understand and so what God has called us to be. We begin to feel less than who we really are. And so I want to deal with that on today. And I want to encourage you of how can you begin to overcome the feeling of less than. I never said that you will never amount to anything. I never said that you would never feel that you were by yourself, but I want to deal with the fact of how can you overcome feeling less than. Okay. So the first point I want to talk about, how can you begin to overcome feeling less than, is find purpose. Okay, let's put this on the chat. Okay, find purpose, but put your focus on someone or something other than yourself. Okay, find that purpose, find the thing that you really can't believe that you cannot do. Okay, I want you to find that thing that you know that you can't dream about, that you keep sleeping about, you can't wake up without doing. I want you to find that particular purpose and go get it. Okay, I want you to find that purpose, what's inside of you, the thing that continue to keep bothering you at night, that thing that every time you look around, you continue to find yourself continue to keep doing it. And a lot of times it's things that you don't go to 9 to 5 job to do. A lot of times it's things that you do in your spare time. A lot of times you find your purpose, the things that you do all the time, and you never find purpose in it. But I want to encourage you on today to find purpose. Okay, when you find purpose, you put your focus on someone or something thing other than yourself, okay? Meaning that whatever you're going through in your life, whatever you're dealing with, is that you need to find a purpose. What you love to do. For an example, you may say, well, David, how can I find a purpose? Well, one thing I can definitely tell you is I love graphic design, okay? And even with sometimes when I'm in a place in my life where I feel by myself, when I feel as if that I cannot make it, or I'm not a good husband, or I'm not a good person, I begin to go into digital design. I begin to start scrolling around doing some designs, and because that's the what I love to, that's the purpose inside of me, and because it allowed me to escape from a place of feeling isolated. Okay, so I definitely want you in this session, I want you to find your purpose. Okay, find purpose, whatever you got inside of you, I want you to find that particular purpose. All right, let's do it. Number two, create a list of small goals to achieve. Check them off as you accomplish them. Okay. I know we as men, we don't do well with lists. We don't do well with trying to write our goals down. We don't do well with trying to definitely write the things that we're trying to accomplish throughout the week. But I want to challenge you. Okay. I want to challenge you that we as men need to be more involved in writing our goals. We need to be more involved in trying to achieve our goals. We need to make sure that we're not only more involved, but we need also making sure that we be able to write the vision and make it plain. Okay, because that is so important in a time such as this, that we must create a list, a small goal, and achieve them and check them off as we accomplish them. It's so important that we do that. And I'm gonna tell you, let me tell you, as a young man, I've realized that a lot of times I miss things because I've always thought that if I begin to just don't remember in my head that I begin to think that I knew it all. But reality, I didn't, because at the end of the day, sometimes we miss things. We miss what we begin to miss what we really think that we're supposed to get into. A lot of times we miss situations because we begin to think we had it in our head. But I'm a firm believer in writing the vision and making it plain. So throughout the week, throughout the day, I'm usually saying, okay, I got to complete this. I got to complete this task. I got to complete going in the office. I got to submit these documents. And so what that does is it allows it off of your head and it puts it on the paper. It allows the stress off of your head. It allows you to put it on your paper. So make sure that you create a list and achieve these small goals. So even if it's just necessarily, I want to sell 10 books, okay? I'm an author by trade, I tell you this. And so most of the time what I do is throughout the week, I say, okay, maybe I want to sell 10 books. And what I do is my small goal is I will try to make sure that I do whatever it takes to make sure I sell these 10 books, even if it's more on social media, even if that's just me necessarily doing word of mouth, even that's just me going in community out there actually pushing it. But we have to make sure that we create a list and make sure that we begin to achieve them, and also make sure that we check them off our list. Okay. So I want to just deal with number three. Okay. I hope you all are getting this. I'm excited because we're talking about less than perfect, more than special, just enough of exceptional. Okay. So number three, be present in the moment. Okay. Be present in the moment. Realizing, okay, we're gonna deal with this. We're gonna break this down real good. Realizing and appreciating your surroundings and the people in your life. Okay. Be present in the moment. Okay. Realizing and appreciating your surroundings and the people in your life. I know sometimes as men, we begin to, because we deal with a lot of this arrogant, and we deal with the thing that we know it all. We think we have this and we have that. But I want you to appreciate the moment. Okay. For an example, when I got married, I just got married this December, and one of the things that I've always realized is that sometimes we as business owners, sometimes we as men, we worry about tomorrow. Okay, we worry about what's to come. We worry about what's happening, what's doing this and with that. Sometimes it's very important that we begin to be present in the moment. It's important that we realize and appreciate the surroundings and the people in our lives. Okay, because one thing is very important. The only way that we become less than perfect, more than special, not exceptional, is that we understand the people that are around us and that we appreciate them that are around us as well. Okay, because sometimes I'm not saying that all of our people around us are people that's against us, but you do have people in your life that do appreciate your gift, that do appreciate who you are, that appreciate you as a father, that appreciate you who you as a person. And I want you to understand that they be present in the moment. Okay, and realize and appreciate the surrounding people that's in your life. Okay, and that's okay, that's a good point to clap right there. Okay, and then a fourth and the final thing I have for you on today is talk to someone that's close to you. And I know sometimes in life that we begin to just move. We begin to just go through silently. We begin to just deal with situations, and we begin to just go through stuff because we can. But I want to necessarily talk about, and I want us to do with this on today is to make sure that we talk to someone closer to us. Okay, I definitely tell you this as a licensed behavior therapist that deals with kids that have learning disabilities and behavior modification plans, and that deal with that goes to different school systems and educate teachers and educate lawmakers and educate these people about the kids that have exceptional needs. Um, I always recommend to the parents and also to the child to talk to someone closer to you. Talk to someone that you trust. Okay, and we as men, some of us, we have not. We have not realized the power of who we are, okay, and who we have within us, okay. And so I want to deal with the fact of talking to someone closer to you, because sometimes when we begin to go through situations, we do it all by ourselves. We think no one is listening to us, but I want to encourage you to talk to someone, okay, and to deal with the fact of the issue and learn at the end of the day that you need someone close by you. You need someone to be able to walk through the process, because if you have it all here and not on the paper, if you have it all here, you begin to feel frustrated, and you begin to go through situations, and you can go through problems, okay? And I want to deal with this before I move on to the next thing. And maybe saying with David, what do special needs and what do exceptional needs have to do with the men in conference? Because a lot of times we as men, and I want to deal with this, and I deal with this a lot when I'm talking to educators and parents, is that a lot of times when men were growing up, and I'm young, so I can't relate to so much of going through back in the day, but I will tell you this, is that most of the time when men, grown men, they're usually like 30, 40, those are that as well, they never knew they had a issue. They never knew they even have a diagnosis. A lot of times, what happens is that people begin to say, okay, they got ADHD, okay? But a lot of times, what happens is that we just growing up as little boys, okay? Or we just growing up as a child, okay? We never knew that we were something different. We never knew that we had problem reading. We never knew we had problem with writing. We never knew it took us longer to comprehend. But as a little boy, okay, we begin to suffer, and we begin growing up as an adult, and we begin to feel as if we're by ourselves or less than perfect because we have an issue or we have a problem. But I want to encourage you on today, don't feel as if that you left out. Don't feel because you take long for you to catch on to materials, because even as growing up as adults, sometimes we have just ignored the issue. We go into our jobs and we don't like to do paperwork. It takes us hours to do submit paperwork because we go through situation, we're going through our problem because we never knew we had ADHD, we never knew we had a type of learning disability, and we just move on with the issue. And because we tell our job, well, listen, I don't want to even want to work. Listen, I don't want to even submit papers. I don't even want to necessarily. I don't even want to necessarily do this particular assignment because you're afraid that you may misspell something. Oh, y'all ain't talking. Y'all not talking good to me. Okay, I'm preaching about fault, y'all. Listen, you're afraid that you begin to may feel less than. You may be afraid. The reason why you won't talk in front of that board meeting is because you have a studying problem. Okay, you may feel as if it's because you the reason why you don't want to even go into the job and really submit in paperwork because you know in yourself that you may have misspelled some words. But I want to encourage you and let you know that just because you less than perfect doesn't mean that you're not exception, doesn't mean that you have much more to offer, because I guarantee you, just because you have a special needs or an issue or an exceptional need, you can be exceptional. So I definitely want to encourage you and let you know that sometimes people don't know, and because they go through life and they just keep going, and we nobody ever deal with situation because I have ADHD or because I really can't read on grade level. I really can't submit my job assignments on time because really I have a disability and no one really dealt with the issue. But I want to deal with that on today, okay? Because I want to encourage you that you are an exceptional and that you're less than perfect, you're more than special, and you just enough of exceptional. Okay, let's keep going, y'all, because I feel good. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm grateful because somebody helping me on today. All right, let's talk about this. What does the word special mean? Okay. What does the word special mean to you? Okay. What does the word special mean to you? Now, before I go into this word special, okay, and most of the time, people, when they think of the word special, they think of this. Okay. They think of this right here. Okay. They think of when you go into to a special event. Okay. They begin to think that When you're having a special event, it's usually like a special party or a special event or a special surprise or um, a special someone is coming to you, okay? Someone that means a lot to you, okay? Special, 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 unique. Yes, different. Good, good, good. And so, listen, if the word special, and watch this, if the word special mean all the good things, why when we hear special needs, why when we hear special needs, it become a problem or we look down upon because we hear special needs and we hear when someone have a special needs. I want to do the root word special needs now. I want to do the word special, okay? Because see, since we begin as people, and I'm saying everybody on this call, but we begin to do the word special, we begin to, when we hear the word special needs, we frown upon the fact of that this word means special. The real reader of special is someone unique, okay? The real meaning of the word special means someone that got that's really got a lot of power in them, okay? But why when we hear the word special needs, when we as men hear that our child has a special needs problem, we frown upon that. But I want to encourage you on today, just because your child has a special needs or a special disability, that doesn't mean do you be frowned upon. What you should be thinking is that my child is special. My child has a unique gift about them. My child has something different about them. And at the end of the day, if my child is special, that means that they have something inside of them that the world can't take away from them. Y'all, listen, this is good to me. What does the word special mean to you? What does it mean? What does it mean to have a special problem? What does it mean to learn special? What does this word mean to have a special needs? What does it mean? We want to talk about that on today, is to have a special. What does the word special mean to you? The word special means, okay, better, greater, or otherwise different from what is used. Y'all, this is so good. Listen, y'all, what does the word special mean? It means better, greater, okay, greater, okay. And I think I like about this particular clause is that different from the usual. Okay, y'all, this is so good. Meaning that if you're special, meaning that if you're different, that means you're different from everybody else. Oh, yo, this is good. What the word meaning, special meaning is that when you are special, okay, when you are called, okay, when you are different as a man, even as you may have a disability, it may take you long to catch on situations. It may take you long to go through, but when you are special, it means that you are greater. That means that you are better. And then otherwise, it means that you're different from the usual. You're different from everybody else. Okay? That's what it means to have a less than perfect, more than special, just enough of an exceptional attitude. Okay, that's what it means. Okay, so let me talk about the story time of my special needs. Okay, the unique journey of who I am and how I can talk to you about less than perfect, more than exceptional, just enough of exceptional. I want to talk about this particular story. I want to talk about this book right here. Okay, my special needs journey. Okay, I told you earlier, I'm on at 5 kids at one time, and necessarily that it was 3 boys and 2 girls. Okay, they put me in special needs classrooms. My brother was already in special needs. They put me in special needs classrooms, and like I told you all earlier, I felt alone. I felt less than. Okay, I was put in special needs classrooms half of my life. Okay, I was in middle school. I was in high school. I was bullied. I was put on. I was in the classroom all day. They began to put me in regular mainstream classrooms. I want to say in my 9th grade year, this high school, y'all, in my 9th grade year, I challenged, y'all, let me tell you, I challenged them to retest me, okay? Something was inside of me, okay? Some people say the Holy Ghost, some people say the intuition inside of you, some people say whatever it is, the thing was burning inside of you. Something challenged me to look up what IEP means, okay? What was the IEP, what IEP means, what behavior modification plans mean, what did these things really mean? And when it comes down to the educational system and especially the school system when I was in, to research it, what it meant, and to tell me how I can advocate on my own. Okay, so I begin to research. Okay, my ninth grade year, I begin to start challenging to retest me. At first, I didn't want to retest me. I begin to start putting law on y'all. Let me tell you something. One thing about school system, when you begin to start letting law, let them know what the law says. Listen, they change their whole mindset. Okay, and so I begin to do me as an 18-year-old. My mom was present. She was there, but she didn't know too much about IEP. So, but I took the fun. Like they just said, this guy was especially in classroom, couldn't read around grade level. But let me tell you something. I took upon myself to research what was the IEP? What were they talking about? I had an IEP or some type of disability. Okay. I begin to challenge them. They begin to retest me. Okay. They begin to find out that I wasn't supposed to be there. Okay, y'all missed it. They begin to retest me. Say, Dave, first of all, your reading scores are too high, your math scores are too high, and you are in a special needs class, or they call it the SPED class, or they even call it the academic coaching class. I was in that. Okay, so why are you here? Okay, and what happened was somebody dropped the ball in elementary school because they didn't retest. They didn't test me. They just put me in because my brothers with special needs, like I told you earlier. And so what happened was they began to retest me. Okay, they began to find out I wasn't supposed to be there. Okay, I advocated myself in the room that it was so powerful that the teachers and the principals that was there in around the table, they trying to figure out how this young man can sit in the presence of these educators and defend who he is, and also know that he was more than special. Okay, he was more than what people said about him. Okay, but listen, that didn't stop there. So what they did was they began to put me in regular mainstream classrooms. Didn't fully got in there fully because I had an academic coach. So because I missed so much in the years of me going into elementary and middle school year, I began to really be behind. Okay. So to begin with academic coach, let me tell you all something. I got out of high school, graduated as a valedictorian of my high school. Okay, the same person said disability. Okay, graduated with a 3.9 GPA with the college. Okay, let me tell you, the school system. Okay, that's why it's important to know your laws. If the school is not providing the necessary things for the child that is in disability or have a disability or have the in disability class or have an IEP, the school has to pay for the child to get the necessary resources that that child needs. Okay. So what happened was when I began to go into college, the school system paid for me to go to college for free. Y'all missed it. Okay. I said this. That's why it's important to learn your laws and to learn what it is very important for you to know what your right is as a parent, as a father, and even as raising a child that have learned disability, is that the school system had to pay for me to get a higher education because number one, they knew that I knew the law, and they knew that if I understood that if I didn't get the resources that I needed, that they had to make sure that I get it. And so they paid for me to be able to go to college. I went to a college HBCU school, graduated Claflin University with a degree in psychology, okay, and I went debt free. Okay. And so what I'm telling you today is that just because they told me that I was less than, they told me that I wasn't going to amount to anything. And because they told me I wasn't going to be anything, I took that and I began to know that I won't allow it to stop me. Okay. I understood that no matter what I had learned, no matter they said I couldn't read around grade, no matter what they said about me, is that I kept going. And so I want to deal with that on today. And I want to give you some tips on how can I be exceptional. Okay. And I want to tell you why I'm almost done. And then we're going to go into questions and we're going to have a conversation and we're going to have a good dialogue. And we're going to actually go in and end this PowerPoint and I'm going to talk to you all face to face. Okay. So let's talk about this. Less than perfect, more than special, just enough exceptional. Okay. I'm going to give you tips on how can I be exceptional. When I say I'm talking about you. How can I be exceptional? Okay. Tips on how you can be exceptional. Don't complain. Don't complain. Okay. When I say don't complain, people don't want to hear all the issues that you've been through. They don't. Not over and over again. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. Especially if you do nothing about it. And however, do ask for help and suggestions from others that may have been in a similar situations, okay? But you have the willpower to help your own self. So don't complain. Okay, so type on the below. Say don't complain. Okay, in order for you to be less than perfect, more than special, just enough and exceptional, you shouldn't complain. Okay. Second thing I want to talk about is face it head on. See, when I was in special needs classrooms, I had to face the issue head on. I couldn't complain about it. I couldn't feel as if that I was by myself just because I'm a grown man now. I'm married. I still deal with some of the things that I did. We're going through in educational system. Growing up as a young man, I still would deal with some things with spelling. I still deal with some things as in with speaking from people. Yeah, no, I don't. I'm good at that now. But I still deal with some things that deal with me when I was in a time. I study a little bit when I'm very excited about things. I still have that exceptional need on me, but I face it head on. I deal with it. I begin to do research like that. I begin to prepare my presentation like I do knowing anything. I begin to study. I begin to study my clients. I begin to study what I love to do. And so when I'm telling you, face it head on. Okay, don't beat around the bush. If you have a issue, do something about it. Okay. Okay. Do something about it. Okay. Don't know what to do. Seek counseling. Okay. Seek counseling. I'm a very big person on counseling. I'm very big up on coaching. I'm very big on helping each other that may be in the same boat as you. Okay. Many companies provide free counseling services as part of their HR packages. Okay, so your company may provide free counseling services. You never know. It's very important. They may do that. Okay, and this is stuff that I'm telling you that companies do. Try something. If that doesn't work, try something else. Do something. Do anything but the same thing that previous didn't work. So maybe if you try coaching and that didn't work, okay, try counseling. Okay, and coaching, counseling, two different things, and I do it another day. Okay, but even if counseling didn't work, then maybe you're trying doing what you love to do. Maybe it's just painting, maybe it's just designing, maybe whatever you do. But you need to face it head on. Okay, you need to deal with that. Okay, face it head on, deal with it, and deal with that issue, that thing that's growing up. And I want to even talk about that on today, even as you being a young, even as you being a man growing up, and we're talking about being a man in me. We're talking about that thing was inside of you. Is that sometimes even when we as little boys, okay, we have went through so much of trauma. Okay, we have been through so much of hurt, and even in our education, some of us men, we don't even have high school diplomas. We don't even finish college. Okay, and a lot of times those things we hide it. We begin to put it under the rug. But we have to face it head on, because if we don't, sometimes our generation, sometimes our kids begin to suffer the thing that we begin to hide from. And I'll say it again. Sometimes our generation, sometimes the people that we begin to raise up our little seed begin to face those things, because we don't begin to face the situations that we dealt with even growing up. So I want to encourage you to make sure that you face it head on. Okay. The third thing, stay positive. Stay positive. When you are worrying about something, it's hard to stay positive. Okay. But think about the good thing that could come from the difficult decisions that you have to make, or the hard conversations you have to have. Okay. So stay positive. When I was going through my disability, when I was going through me growing up as a young man and being a man I am today, married, have no kids, none of that, I understood that I had to stay positive. I understood that even though I have an issue with writing, I may have an issue with reading, and I definitely have an issue with talking in front of people, is that we have to stay positive. And no matter what our issue is, no matter what people said about us, is that we have to continue to stay positive and remember at the end of the day that we are much more than enough. Okay, so make sure that you continue to stay positive and remember that at the end of the day that you are your own self-credit. And so if you discredit yourself, is you discredit who you are, you begin to feel that you're less than. Okay, so I want you to make sure you stay positive. Okay, third thing, be exceptional. And this is what some of everything that we're talking about today is, that you must be exceptional. You must remember that at the end of the day, no matter, I'm less than perfect. Okay, I don't do everything right. Okay. As a father, I may not have raised my child correctly. I never knew that as a child, I may have an ADHD. I may have a reading problem. I maybe have an issue growing up. Okay. but at the end of the day, I am exceptional. And you may not have done everything right, but I want to remind you that you are less than perfect. Okay. You are more than special, and you're just enough of exceptional. And even as you're raising a child, your child may be having an issue. Your child may be having a disability. Your child may have special needs, which is your unique gift. As a father, you begin to cultivate your child. You begin to encourage your child. You even go a further step as giving your child affirmations and let them realize that they are much more than enough, that they have much more to offer. And so remember this, that because you are less than and you're more than special, you have that you are more than that you're more than enough. Okay. And so I just want to encourage you that at the end of the day, that you can continue to keep moving and that you continue to keep going and continually to know that you are exceptional. I begin to do something and I want to encourage you, and I really want you all to know this is that I don't do this because of this, but I do this because I really want other parents and I definitely want other educators and I definitely want other fathers out there that really want to know the process. How did David overcome? What did David do? How did he overcome a special needs issue? How did he do this? What steps did he took? I wrote this in my book. You can go to my website, www.davidlucasspeaks.com. And I have it for $20, shipping is included, where we're talking about the special needs problem, the issue that it takes in the classroom, what I felt like, what I've been through. And I want to talk and I want to deal with it. And I want to help you. I'm doing this only for the Minute Me conference. I want you to go there and I want you to actually purchase your book. And if you have a child that have ADHD or have a learning disability or have autism, it's very important that we as fathers, okay, I'm not a father, but I do have God kids, okay, we as father educate ourselves on what these things mean and how we can overcome and how that we can make sure that we're less than perfect, more than special, just enough of exceptional. So again, I want to thank you all for your time. And now we're going to go into our questions and answers. And I want you all to ask me questions. And we're going to necessarily go into this and I really want you all to necessarily begin to give me some questions that you all may have. And you may want to have questions about educational system, you are lawmaking and things like this. Well, I want you all to answer me that at this time. So I'm doing presentation. I definitely know your comments and your concerns that you all have concerning this particular presentation. So thank you. So any questions?
Hey, David. Good stuff, man. Very informative. I actually had a mentee that she's dealing with a school system, and after I think it was the first grade, her child was in the first grade, and they tried to hold the child back because they
Uh-huh.
said that she was dyslexic, and the mother didn't think that they had enough proof or evidence to say the child was dyslexic, and at home the child was reading pretty good. She might have had some challenges, but what first grader doesn't? And so she found herself um, having to advocate for her child not being held back in a room full of, like, I think it was the counselor, the principal, and like
Mm-hmm.
teachers and everything. And ultimately, they didn't end up holding the child back, but she had to kind of put up a lot of resistance and fight really hard for that. So, what kind of advice would you give for parents um, facing that kind of thing when the system is trying to convince them that their child needs this or that or special education, or what kind of information would you give the parents to deal with those kind of situations?
Okay. First, I want to say is, I think that's a good question. Um, is definitely to if your child that has a disability, and if it does, definitely go out there and actually get it tested. Okay, go out there and really and like I said earlier in the presentation, that it's okay if your child do have exceptional need. Okay, so I think we as parents, we begin to shun against that as well. Okay, so if your child does, okay, we want to definitely should get tested. So I encourage them to even so get a school counselor, even go into necessarily a licensed psychiatrist, and to help diagnose that particular child. Okay, but in this case, the child wasn't didn't have any special needs, didn't have any issues with that as well. And the school system trying to defend. I definitely say this: every school system has someone that's on their school board or even their school organizations that's like a advocate or some type of person that deals with like disabilities or deal with some type of IEP. They deal with IEP meeting or the IEP room. Okay, every school district does. So you take a moment, and if you're a parent and you want to know how to get some free help, the school district itself had an advocate supposed to defend the child best interest. So even if that's even if that means that your child is supposed to be in there, also even in your community there are other advocates that's in your community. And I tell parents all the time that if you don't trust your school or your school system, go out there and find advocates that's in your community. There are many people that you can go on Facebook, that you can go and that they're advocates for kids that have disabilities or ADHD or have autism, and they can defend you in the IEP room. Because a lot of times with parents, they don't really know the system. They don't even know that particular child's needs. They don't even know what is an IEP. Okay, what is it even this educational this individualized educational plan. They don't even know it. They don't even think know about that. But if you can find someone even in your school system or in your community to defend your child, the best interest of your child, do that as well. So I just really encourage the parents out there, the fathers out there, that if you're having a son or a daughter that are in that particular need and that needs advocate and that really need your best interest. And when I tell you, when they're free help out there, you don't have to pay their money for that. There, 'cause a lot of times we pay lawyers and big top fees for those things, but there's many organizations out there that will defend your child best interest as well. And I want to also deal with this too, is that even if your child is like that, or they have disability, because I have disability, is that there's so much opportunities that your child can get. Okay. First thing, number one, there's something called boat rehab. Okay, boat rehab. Boat rehab is a program that helps kids that have a type of disability. And those programs also, they help pay kids to go to college. They pay for their tuitions, they pay for their books. So if your child has a learning disability or IEP, boat rehab can pay for your child. That's all over the world. Okay, if you have a boat rehab center in your county or in your school or in your area, they can take care of your child's needs. Okay, that's called boat rehab. Okay, that's very important to know that. So if your child has a special needs issue or issue, that they can necessarily get their child together if they're going to college. Okay. Any other questions? Come on, y'all. I know anybody got some questions. Anybody got any other questions? What about any comments on the presentation? What are your thoughts on the presentation? Okay. What's your thoughts on the presentation, Eric? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not sure if Eric is in anymore, but
Okay.
yeah, I'll go ahead and chime in again. I just think that it was um, valuable and informative information, but also motivational as well. And I like some of the tips about, writing your goals down and finding mentors or counselors if you need to, or just
Mm-hmm.
somebody to talk to. Because a lot of times as men, we either don't do that or we don't know how to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it was very helpful information.
Well, I think this is very important. I think it's very important that we know that. And it's like I said, a lot of times we as men, we don't even know. I know growing up, my father began to tell me, he said, "Oh, David," he said, "Well, um, growing up, we knew there was nothing about no ADHD. Okay, they knew nothing about, having a disability. They just moved on. They just continue to keep going. Um, but but God's grace allowed these things to be able to go through. so that we could be able to help our kids. We could be able to help um, even ourselves, because now that we can get diagnosed, we can get treated for the issue, the problem. I deal with a lot of clients, a lot, especially I deal with a lot of kids, a lot of kids that have learning disabilities, especially I deal with older adults too. And a lot of times when they come to the office, it's normally like they've been diagnosed, but they had just recently got diagnosed. And a lot of times they're 30, 40 years old, or I'm dealing with an 18-year-old that's just got diagnosed and they are struggling in school, and nobody never understood the reason why they were struggling in school was because they have ADHD. They can't stay still too long. And so these are issues that we deal with, and we as men may have that same experience, but never have the right diagnose. And sometimes um, we have a diagnosis, but it's the wrong diagnosis, and that's another conversation for another day. But but then thank you again.
All right, and to those that are still in the room, I added a link to the survey for this session. You can also find the link in the Hoover app as well. But please click on the link for the survey and fill out the survey. Give us some feedback. It's real quick and everything. And we just want to thank Mr. David Lucas for his time and his expertise and an amazing material and information that he just gave us.
Thank you.
So any closing words, David, before we close out the session?
Well, I want to just remind everyone to remember that you're less than perfect. You're more than exception. You're more than special, and you're just enough of exceptional. Everything that you desire to be, everything that your child desires to be, that they can do it. I live by this quote that said, "Life get better when you get better." That life get better when you get better. We say, what does that mean? Meaning that when you change the way you see things, the way you change the way you see it, you begin to get better because inwardly you feel better. Okay. And if you definitely go back to my website, www.davidlucasspeaks, and purchase this book called Less Than Perfect, More Than Special, Just Another Exceptional. Thank you again.
All right, thank you so much. So at this time, we're getting ready for our 12:30 lunch keynote in the music session. You can find that link in the Hoove app as well. Thank everybody. See you soon.